Hello, today is the 8th of July, 2026, and this is the South Dade Shoutout brought to you by the South Dade Chamber of Commerce. This is where we meet leaders, entrepreneurs, business owners, community leaders that help make South Dade a great place to live, work, play, pray, and thrive. My name is Richard Candia. I don't know why I had to look at the notes for that. I am the Business Development Director for Florida Lamarck, and I'm also privileged to serve as a board member of the South Dade Chamber of Commerce. And today, we're going to learn a little bit. We're meeting Amanda Altman. She is the CEO of Kristi House, and I learned a lot preparing for this conversation, and I hope you'll learn a lot today as well about the mission and the scope of work that Kristi House does for our community. Hello, Amanda.
Hi.
I stumbled on that a little bit. Was that okay?
You did great.
Yeah.
You did great.
Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you for joining us. I would love to start with you. Tell me about yourself, your background, and how you came to be CEO of the Kristi House.
Yeah, so I am originally from St. Louis, Missouri. I moved to Miami in 2008. And I'm a lawyer. I spent almost 20 years as a trial attorney, but when I moved to Miami, I didn't know anybody. And so the deal I made with myself was I had to get involved in the community here so I could really tell whether or not I liked Miami and wanted to stay here. So I started getting involved with some nonprofits and learning more about the nonprofit landscape and sitting on some nonprofit boards, and really found after a while that I was so passionate about my nonprofit work, a little more so than maybe my legal career at some point. And so in 2019, my predecessor at Kristi House was ready to retire, and we knew each other. We were both past presidents of the Junior League of Miami, and so we connected, and I decided to apply for the position as CEO, and here I am. Seven plus years later, still in that role.
Well, it says something about you that you wanted to get to know your community better, and the first thing you did was go work and go find ways to contribute with nonprofits. I went out to go look at the beaches, and so we already have a difference. So Kristi House, I thought I knew the Kristi House. Of course, I'm familiar with the name, but tell me a little bit more about the organization, the services you provide, and who you serve.
So Kristi House is the nationally accredited children's advocacy center for Miami-Dade County. And our mission really is to protect and heal children who have suffered from child sexual abuse, trafficking, and other forms of childhood trauma. We coordinate a multidisciplinary team of agencies. So it includes the state attorney's office, various law enforcement agencies, the Department of Children and Families. It's 8 different organizations and agencies that come together every single Friday at Kristi House to address the cases that have come in the week before. So we make sure that children and families are getting all the services that they need to recover from these traumas. And Kristi House itself provides the mental health therapy and the care coordination or victims advocacy services, as well as doing a lot of prevention, education, and outreach and awareness in the community.
These are difficult themes. What are some of the things that you wish our community knew better about these issues?
I wish that people understood the prevalence of these issues. So we know that statistically speaking, 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 13 boys will be sexually assaulted before their 18th birthday.
Has that changed at all over the years?
It has not really. And that's a really staggering statistic. Yeah. We know that, Florida ranks number 3 in the country for reported incidents of human trafficking, with Miami-Dade County ranking as number 1 in the state of Florida. That's not where we want to be number 1. And so I wish that people would understand that while we may not want to think about these horrific, heinous crimes happening to our children, the reality is that all of us probably know somebody to whom it has happened or to whom it is happening.
It's happening all through the county. Are there any parts of the county where it happens more than other parts of the county?
We see a lot of children from the city of Miami, the city of Homestead, Florida City. But the reality is that we serve children in every single zip code in Miami-Dade County. So this kind of abuse, these kinds of crimes, they do not discriminate. They cross all socioeconomic boundaries. They don't discriminate based on race, color, religion, anything. We see them happening throughout everywhere.
You and I talked about this a little bit yesterday. I asked you the question about geographic location. What about social strata? I don't know what the word is. Is it more prevalent in lower income than higher income, or is it?
I don't necessarily know that it's more prevalent. I can tell you that at Kristi House, we do tend to see children who come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. Our services are all free of charge.
Regardless.
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, we don't charge anybody anything. So I'm sure that that's one reason. But we know, like I said, the statistics are what they are, and that it's happening everywhere.
So with that thought kind of still ringing here, what has been the most surprising thing to you since you've taken over as CEO? And when we talked about this earlier, the question for me had more of I initially meant it as your experience, but now as a professional in this world, when you compare us to other parts of the state or other parts of the country, what professionally, what has surprised you the most?
Well, I think I was surprised by the prevalence of it. I was surprised. I had certainly a vision of what human trafficking was. My vision was largely based on the movie Taken with Liam Neeson.
Thank you for saying that, because I thought it was just me.
No,
I didn't want to. Okay.
That is really not at all how it happens, at least not here, not in the United States, really. So that was surprising to me. It was surprising also to me how few people at the time were interested in really looking at prevention as a solution.
Okay, I have a separate question about that.
Sure.
But and I'm sorry to interrupt you. That's not good practice. But the just talking about it, just having that conversation about it, is that something is it more comfortable to talk about it now than in years past when you first started, or are you noticing any kind of openness about the issue?
There needs to be more.
Okay.
I think since I have started at Kristi House, I can tell you there's definitely been a shift in being able to talk about overall mental health issues. So we're definitely able to talk more about generalized depression, anxiety, those kinds of mental health issues that the population faces. I think we are still less able to and less open to talking about things like child sexual abuse. It is a horrible topic.
Yeah.
It is horrible to think about it. Nobody wants to think this is happening to a child. The problem is it is happening. And so we still need to be able to talk about it. The stigma needs to be removed. I think there is slow progress. I do think there is progress,
Sure.
But I think it is slow.
We've noticed when it comes to economic development and when it comes to access to services that many times the South Dade community finds it hard to access for whatever reason. What is Kristi House doing to make services available to people in our community?
Well, as you and I were talking about earlier, Kristi House has quite a few brick and mortar locations. So we've had one in Palmetto Bay for quite a while. And we opened one in Homestead in about 2018, a very small office. But just at the end of 2024, we purchased a very large property right off of Chrome Avenue in Homestead, where not only can Kristi House offer services there, but many of our partner agencies are also able to take space there and offer services. So, for example, Miami-Dade County's Coordinated Victims Assistance Center, they are operating out of there. Mujer, who we bought the property with, their domestic violence agency, they're operating out of there. Start Off Smart, an organization that's helping high-risk teens, is also operating out of there. So we're really trying to build a service hub in the Deep South Dade to address those concerns. We do not want geography to be a barrier to children and families getting services.
So we talked about the presence. What else should focusing down a little bit more? What should a business owner know about this issue and about Kristi House as being a resource? What should a church organization, a nonprofit organization, what should we know about that interaction?
Well, I think everybody, number one, needs to be aware of these issues, aware that they're happening. Places like churches, even small businesses or large businesses for that matter, if you're a customer service type of organization or a retail type space, a restaurant, you might see something in your store. You might see something in your restaurant. And so we want you to be aware so that if you do see something suspicious, or even if you're not sure, you know what to do about that. So for me, that's number one. Education is critical. We want people to be educated, but I really want people to know, I never want Kristi House to be the best kept secret in Miami-Dade County. We want everybody to know that we're here and that we're offering these services. And of course, as a nonprofit organization, we're always looking for people to get involved and to be helpful, whether it's volunteering or, right now we're already focused on back to school and back to school drives. And
Quiet.
as soon as that, then it'll be the toy drive for Christmas and Hanukkah. And so we're always in need of assistance, whether it's monetary or in kind or volunteers.
You mentioned volunteers. I was looking through the membership of your board.
Yes.
I know at least two of the guys there. These are special folks. Mr. Whitaker, Dr. Armstrong from UM.
Yeah.
Very special people. That kind of
They are.
representative of your board, I would imagine.
Very much so, yes. People who really care. They're passionate about helping children. They're passionate about these issues and finding solutions to these issues. I feel very fortunate to have such a wonderful board and so diverse within our community that they really, touch a lot of different industries and parts of the community.
Speaking about there is a segment of our community. We have a lot of immigrants in our community. Are they a targeted group? Is there a special problem that because of who they are? I don't know. That was a
Yes.
very awkward question.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
I certainly understand what you're saying. And yes, I think that any
Target.
group that is vulnerable for any reason is a target. And immigrants have a lot of different vulnerabilities. And so that makes them susceptible to various forms of abuse and also various forms of trafficking. We think about trafficking and most of the time we're talking about sex trafficking, but labor trafficking is also a very big issue.
Wow. Okay.
So
Was not aware of that.
yes. So, I think the immigrant population is especially vulnerable to something like that.
You were touching on something I wanted to ask about. You were stealing my thunder.
Sorry.
On prevention.
I tend to do that. I talk a lot.
For prevention.
Yes.
What does prevention look like? But then the other thing that is an education issue. I wouldn't recognize if I saw something. How do we even go on some sort of campaign to educate business owners, to educate just people to recognize something when you see it? I don't know what it looks like.
Sure. It's hard. I'm not sure I always would know what it looks like either, but there are definitely things you can look out for. But to start with the first part of your question on prevention, we have 6 full-time prevention education specialists at Kristi House. They're out in the community. They're going into schools when they can to teach kids about how to keep themselves safe. We have curriculum for kids starting in kindergarten and going through 12th grade. We have courses for adults that we offer. We do online webinars. We will do a specialized, if a group of parents, we've had groups of parents who want to get together and learn more so that they can understand better. So we do a wide variety of educational programs for both children and adults. And then we do a lot of outreach to the community to try to educate people as well. So we'll do lunch and learns for businesses so that they can understand more about the issue, but also we can give them some of the tips to look for.
Right.
So things like, FIFA's going on right now. The World Cup is here in Miami. So we've been working with the state attorney's office, working with an organization called It's a Penalty to really try to get some awareness out there in the community around human trafficking specifically. And some of the things that you want to look for are, a person who, and it happens to males and females, but we do know that it disproportionately happens to females. And so, if you see a girl who is really attached at the hip to maybe an older gentleman, but maybe not, she doesn't have her own papers, she doesn't have her own money, she doesn't really speak for herself necessarily. The man is always speaking for her. Those are kinds of things you might look out
Kind of
for.
classical things, kind of, I don't know. It seems
They can be, but I think you tend to notice when they're not. There definitely tends to be signs when they're not. Obviously, if you see physical signs, you might see bruises. You might see. You're probably not going to see restraints, but you'll notice that there is some kind of an emotional or psychological restraint over the person, even if it's not a physical restraint.
sure.
Somebody who is, when we're talking about abuse cases and things that a teacher might notice, it's regression behavior. So, you have a 10-year-old child who's suddenly acting like they're 6 years old again, maybe doing things like wetting themselves that, a 10-year-old really doesn't normally do. Sometimes a really outgoing person will suddenly become very introverted and not want to talk to anybody. They might become afraid of people. We often see with trafficking cases, sometimes we'll see somebody showing up with luxury goods that we know that they can't afford, and where are they suddenly coming up with all of these things? Their friend groups might change. They might be becoming really isolated from their friends and family. We see that a lot. A trafficker or an abuser really wants to isolate a person. And so, that's also going back to what I was talking about in the beginning with, somebody who's really clinging to another person or can't speak for themselves. It's an isolation behavior that the trafficker is holding over them.
We touched on how difficult it is to talk about it, but yet there has been a very front page news going on for over way too long and for many years. And you just described some of the many of the classic symptoms that should create some sort of at least awareness.
Yes.
Just not to dancing around that a little bit. Is there such a thing as aging out for services from Kristi House?
So at Kristi House, we really see kids ages 3 to 18. If you've gotten services with us prior to your 18th birthday and you need more, we're able to help with that. If you're over 18, then typically we will refer you to someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
In our human trafficking program, we haven't touched on this. We have a very specialized program for survivors of human trafficking.
Okay.
It's operated out of, it's not a residential facility, but it is operated out of a house. And we offer wraparound services for those kids. So individual therapy, group
Wow.
life skills courses. We have an education and jobs program there as well.
Okay.
So for those folks, it's really up to the age of 26 because we know that particularly those 18 to 24-year-olds can need a lot of assistance. But we're the Children's Advocacy Center, so our focus is really on the children and, of course, stabilizing their families as well.
How do you measure success? What's a success story for you?
Well, fortunately, we have a lot of success stories. So we see a lot of kids who come through Kristi House. They're able to get the mental health services they need. They're able to get the advocacy and care coordination services they need. They leave Kristi House and they don't come back.
Good.
And they go on to live productive, healthy, wonderful lives. We've had, countless kids go on to college. We had a kid last year. I got a call actually from the state attorney's office while I was on vacation, and I thought this is not going to be anything good. And it turned out she was calling because a mother had called to thank her and asked that she call me to thank Kristi House as well. Her daughter, who had been suffering from all sorts of problems following a history of sexual abuse, was able to graduate from high school. She was able to give a victim impact statement against her trafficker. She applied for college. She used her experience in her college essay, and she not only got into college, she got a full ride to college.
Wow.
So, we see so many success stories.
You just touched on something else. Is there a path for healing for these kids and their families?
Absolutely.
What's that look like?
Absolutely. Look, early intervention is always key. If somebody can disclose early that this is happening to them, and they can get into Kristi House, and we can start immediately offering services, and their case can also work its way through the system. So maybe the alleged perpetrator gets arrested and tried. Those are all very healing things for a family. But even if it's not early intervention, because we know that often disclosures are delayed, especially in children, they may tell you years later that something happened to them. Even then, if the child is able to come to Kristi House, the family is able to come to Kristi House if they need it. They can get through therapy, and they can be healed. We see it every single day.
It sounds like we are very blessed in Miami-Dade County to have a Kristi House. Not every county has something this remarkable, this focused, and this overt. I mean, you're talking
Yes.
about prevention.
Yeah.
It's almost as if the more we talk about it, the harder it is for somebody to try to go in and do the unpleasant thing.
Absolutely. I say that this kind of crime, it thrives in silence.
Yes.
So, and silence protects the wrong people here. Silence is protecting the perpetrators. It's not protecting our children.
There's a certain kind of courage that these kids have to have. When you mentioned that they testify against their abuser, that's a certain level of courage, no?
Absolutely. I am always amazed when our children are able to testify against their abusers or give victim impact statements. I also think that many times it's very healing for them to be able to do that. But that is one of the goals of Kristi House, is that you come in, a child gets services, and they get to that point where if they want to do that, they can do that. They have the strength to do that.
Okay.
But yes, it takes an extraordinary amount of courage.
Let's talk a little bit about how our community, the business community, can assist. Short of somebody writing a check, that's helpful.
Yes.
But there's not a sustainability thing here. Give me some ideas of the different venues or different levels of opportunity that a small business, a larger business can do to contribute to the mission.
I'd love to see more businesses reach out to us about prevention education. I think it's really important, not just as a business owner, but if you're a business owner and you happen to be a parent or an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent or whatever, these are important things for you to know, and you can then help be ambassadors for Kristi House, whether it's your intention or not. You're helping to talk about this. You're helping to spread awareness around the mission and around the issues that the mission addresses. So I really would love to see more businesses be interested in having this kind of prevention education for them, for their teams. I think that's important. Like I said, volunteering at Kristi House is always wonderful, helping us with our various things that we do for our clients, back to school, back to the holidays. Our clients tend to have a lot of needs. What our advocates are really there to do is to help make sure that the families are stable and secure. You can give a child all the therapy in the world. If you're not sending them home to a stable environment, you've done them no good.
Right.
And so we're really trying to make sure that the families are stable. And so clients have a lot of needs. So, being able to help us meet those needs is really important as well, whether it's with goods or I always think about FP&L. Can I pick up the phone and ask them not to turn off somebody's lights? Things like that. I mean, those are important things too.
Do you post? Is there like a wish list?
Yes, of course. We have an Amazon wish list. We post things on our website. You can follow us on every social media platform pretty much. And we're always posting about what's coming up. We post a lot about our education programs as well that are free to the public to join. So there's always good stuff going on that people can get involved with.
So we'll make sure the chamber does its fair share to promote that as well.
Thank you.
What's the one thing, that's not fair, one or two things that you would like somebody to take away from watching this podcast?
I think that number one for me is always that education is so critical. And I think for whatever reason, well, it's for lots of reasons, including the one that we talked about, that it's so hard to talk about, that I think people think if we don't talk about it, it doesn't happen. And that's couldn't be further from the truth. And so education is so critical. I feel like sometimes parents don't want us to come in schools, or educators don't want us to come in the schools and talk to kids because they're icky topics. Well, they are icky topics, right? They are. But your child is less likely to suffer from this kind of trauma if they know about it
Mhm.
and they feel like they have some power and understanding. Very often, when we go into a school, a child will disclose to us that something's been happening to them that they didn't know was wrong. Many trafficked survivors don't realize while they're in the moment that they're being trafficked. And so it's just so critical for experts like those at Kristi House to be in the community, really helping to raise awareness and provide this prevention education. And second, I just want people to know that we're here. And I want people to know that we provide these services because, like I said before, I never want to be the best kept secret in
Yeah.
Miami.
If I'm I see something that it looks suspicious. Most folks aren't going to confront somebody that they see. We just kind of calling the police, calling Miami-Dade County police. Is that a first step?
Absolutely.
Do they contact you guys right away? How does that work?
You can absolutely call Miami-Dade County Police. They will contact Kristi House if they believe something is going on. They will go and investigate. You can call the DCF hotline as well if you suspect abuse. You can call Kristi House and we will report it to DCF and to the police if necessary.
Okay.
You can go to our website. There's a place on our website to fill out a form for the DCF abuse hotline if you think that something's happening. If you suspect trafficking is happening, you can also call our state attorney, has a 24-hour hotline that is the gold standard in Miami-Dade County. It's where I would call if I knew or suspected that trafficking was happening.
Your webpage?
KristiHouse.org, KRISTI House.
Could we scroll that on the bottom really quick, please? We should be, and I feel bad because we should have had numbers, but there's a whole bunch of phone numbers that somebody can call, and we got to figure out a better way to promote, to let people know. So you're a beacon of hope for folks. When you receive the child, that child immediately is made to feel like, hey, you didn't do anything, right? This is not you.
Absolutely.
This was done to you.
Absolutely. And our child protection team from the University of Miami, they do the forensic medical exams of children. They're our partner. They're actually co-located in the Kristi House main location.
Where's that at?
1265 Northwest 12th Avenue. So right in the heart of the health district downtown.
Sure.
And, one of the things that they talk to kids about is that this is not their fault, and also that their bodies are okay. So even though something bad might have happened to your body is okay, and it's going to be okay.
Wow. Amanda, I'm very, very grateful, not only for what Kristi House does, but for this opportunity to learn more about for an individual. I guess the first step is for them to reach out to Kristi House and say, how can I help? Kind of do what you did when you first moved here.
Absolutely.
How can I help?
How can I help?
What can I do?
Always a great question to ask.
Well, I'm going to steal your line in my closing. I think you're right. Silence is the biggest protector of these folks, and pretty much silence is the protector. We talk about light being the best, and I mean you were a former attorney.
Yes.
Light is the best antiseptic.
Yes.
Transparency is the best antiseptic. Well, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.
I'm very, very grateful for this introduction and for learning more about the Kristi House.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for taking the time to learn more.
Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. The takeaway message is that silence is what enables bad people to do things to the most vulnerable in our community. Reach out to the Kristi House, KristiHouse.org. There's all the phone number. There's all that information. At the South Dade Chamber, we will do our best also to promote and let you know about all the places where you can contact if you see something. And don't be afraid to say, let me help. Don't be afraid to stand out. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. This is the South Dade Shoutout.